What happened to the Lettermen?
In 1958, the theatrical production known as Newcomers of 1928 took the stage. It was a nostalgic performance featuring 1920s icons including Paul Whiteman, Buster Keaton, Harry Richmond, and many more. This show required 3 male vocalists to emulate the Rhythm Boys, the vocal group that accompanied Paul Whiteman and contributed to Bing Crosby's early fame. The chosen trio consisted of Mike Barnett, Dick Stewart, and Tony Butala. Jackie Barnett, the chief writer for the Jimmy Durante TV show, selected them and decided to name the group the Lettermen. Newcomers of 1928 debuted on February 28, 1958 at the Desert Inn in Las Vegas, Nevada, where it played to sold-out crowds and was extended for several weeks. The show continued its success during a 6-week trial in Miami Beach, Florida. Pike and Butala decided to form a new group focused on excellent soloists as well as group singers, although they hadn't chosen a name yet. They teamed up with Bob Ingman, whom Pike had met during his time at university. In 1960, Pike, Butala, and Ingman secured a recording contract with Warner Brother Records through Bob's brother, Carl, a record producer. They initially released 2 singles in 1960 under the name The Lettermen with Warner Brothers, featuring 2 Hearts and Their Hearts Were Full of Spring as the A-sides, but these singles did not achieve success. Subsequently, Carl, who later became Marie Osmond's manager, helped them secure a new record contract with Capitol Records. During the late 50s and early 60s, there was another Letterman ensemble that was signed to Liberty Records, a prominent record label at the time. This group, consisting of 5 members, was focused on R&B music and released a less successful single titled Hey Big Brain. Around the same period, a third group known as the Letterman Trio, led by Sammy Vandenberg, also experienced a lack of success in the recording industry. However, it was the Letterman Trio composed of Pike, Ingman, and Butala that achieved the first hit record. Subsequently, they held the exclusive rights to use the name Letterman following the law. The group's first single for the label, a cover of the Jerome Kern Dorothy Field standard The Way You Look Tonight, reached number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 in late 1961. Its follow-up, When I Fall in Love, which had been a hit 10 years earlier for Doris Day, peaked at number 7 for the Lettermen in January 1962. When their full-length debut, A Song for Young Love, arrived in 1962, it went to number 6 on the U.S. Billboard 200. They followed it up the same year with Once Upon a Time and Jim, Tony, and Bob before issuing College Standards and the live album Letterman in Concert, both in 1963. Maintaining a near-constant presence on the chart, the following year brought A Letterman Kind of Love, The Lettermen Look at Love, and She Cried, and their 1965 sets included You'll Never Walk Alone, Portrait of My Love, and The Hit Sounds of the Lettermen. All of these releases landed in the top half of the Billboard 200, with the latter album reaching as high as number 13. They returned with more hit sounds of the Lettermen in 1966, a year that also saw a new song for Young Love and their first seasonal collection for Christmas this year. In addition, Capitol released the trio's first compilation, The Best of the Lettermen. Following 1967's Warm Spring, which reached number 31 on the albums chart, the group closed out the year with the top 10 LP, The Lettermen and Live. Their first studio full-length album of 1968, Going Out of My Head, climbed to number 13. Though the group only reached the top 10 of the singles chart one more time after 1961 with the 1968 medley Going Out of My Head, Can't Take My Eyes Off You, the same year Jim's brother Gary Pike stepped in, their impressive streak on the Billboard 200 continued. And popular concert tours helped keep the group going long after many of their like-minded contemporaries had called it quits. Special Request and Put Your Head on My Shoulder, both from 1968, didn't manage to crack the top 40 but still made it into the top 100. And the Lettermen delivered the number 17 album, Hurt So Bad, in 1969. That year's I Have Dreamed peaked at number 74 with the 1978 LP's Traces / Memories and Reflections also landing outside the top 40. The same was the case for all three of the group's 1971 studio efforts, Everything's Good About You, Feelings, and Love Book, their final top 100 album. In 1972, Letterman 1 reached number 136 on the Billboard 200 before Live in Japan became their first full-length release to miss the chart. They issued two more long players in 1972, Spin Away and A Time for Us, then made their final appearance on the US Billboard 200 with 1973's Alive Again Naturally. It peaked at number 193. Butala married the former Judith Ann Blaskovich in 1969. The marriage ended in divorce, but both remained friendly until Judith died in a car accident on October 10, 2006, one day after her 60th birthday. Together, they had 4 children, Anthony, Rebecca, Lisa, and Regina, and 5 grandchildren. Another Pike brother, Donnie, replaced Jim in 1974, and the lineup of Butala, Donnie Pike, and Gary Pike released a steady stream of albums through the late 1970s. The Lettermen then formed Alpha Omega Records in 1979, as they began to issue new recordings more sporadically. In 1983, former members Bob Ingman and Jim Pike started Reunion, which also featured Rick de Acevedo and later Gary Pike, a group that put out several albums on collectibles. Meanwhile, Tony continued to tour with the Lettermen. He, Don Venti, and Mark Preston returned to Evergreen in 1985 and Why I Love Her in 1986. The Lettermen's 1987 holiday album, It Feels Like Christmas, became one of their most enduring, as it was periodically reissued into the next century. Preston temporarily left the group the following year and was replaced by Ernie Pontieri. The Lettermen's entry in the Capitol Collector Series arrived in 1993, which also saw the release of Love Is All. By that time, the trio consisted of Tony, T, and Bobby Poynton. Following a pair of Christmas releases, they offered Greatest Movie Hits in 2000, which featured Darren Dowler in place of Bobby. Tony, T, and Preston returned to the studio for 2006's Why I Love Her. The same three re-recorded some of their favorite songs with Les Brown Jr. and his band of renown for New Directions 2010. Unfortunately, Bob died at age 77 in Provo, Utah on January 20th, 2013, of complications from his December 13th, 2012 heart bypass surgery. Bobby returned in 2011 after Preston parted ways with the group again. Membership remained consistent until about 2019 when, after 60 years with the Lettermen, Tony decided to step down, at least from full-time status. T and Bobby continued, booking tours with Rob Gulak as their third following a nationwide talent search. That year, the Lettermen were inducted into the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and the compilation Best Selection was issued by Universal. Jim Pike died from complications of Parkinson's disease on June 9, 2019 at his home in Prescott, Arizona. He was 82 years old. And that's what happened to the Lettermen. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and give me some facts about the Lettermen that I might have missed in this video. Let me know who I should do next on this channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.